Welcome into the WHBG Channel 20 studios. Once again, my name is Matt Maisel, and we are talking about how to save lives today with Penn State Health and Amy Bollinger, the trauma nurse coordinator there. Thank you so much for being with us once again. You may recognize Amy. She's a guest from time to time on our What's the Word Harrisburg segment. And today we're talking about Stop the Bleed.
Yes.
That is a program that Penn State Health runs. It's a program that many health networks run. What is Stop the Bleed, first and foremost?
So Stop the Bleed is a national program, and it is now overseen by the American College of Surgeons Committee on Trauma. But it's a national program designed to teach people in the community, people with no medical background, how to stop life-threatening bleeding.
And that's where I come in, because I have no medical background. But I mean, we laugh, we're joking, but this is incredibly serious what we're talking about, because what Amy's about to teach us right now might save a life.
Right.
It may be a family member, it may be a friend, it may be someone you don't even know, a complete stranger, but these are very important tips.
Yes, when someone's bleeding to death, someone has a life-threatening bleeding injury, you have about 3 minutes to intervene before that person is either in class 4 shock or dying in front of you. So our first responders are wonderful. Our police officers, police departments are great in responding as soon as that 911 call comes in. But that usually is not under 3 minutes. So it really is imperative that community, non-medical people, lay people, citizens know how to jump in and stop life-threatening bleeding.
And this is a class that people can take. So okay,
yes.
so what we're going to show here today, we would highly suggest, and we'll have all the information later on as we get closer to the end, where you can go, how you can sign up for the classes. But we do highly suggest you sign up for those classes. This is just kind of an overview.
Right.
I'm going to be this is a class for me. I'm going to learn something today, and we really hope that you participate in something like this moving forward.
Yep.
So we have with us today everything that you're going to need in order to stop the bleed.
Correct.
What do we have on the table here?
Sure. So the first thing we have, it's a personal bleeding control kit. It has all of your bleeding control equipment. It has a tourniquet. It has something we call combat gauze or hemostatic gauze, some other heavy dressings and bandages, as well as a brochure pamphlet, so that if you forget or you're in the moment and you can't remember the steps to do to stop somebody from bleeding to death, tells you what to do.
Got it. And then in terms of other things, this is just we're going to call this someone's leg.
Right. This
today.
is our training leg. This is our trainer leg, and it has different pretend lacerations and wounds in it, so that we're going to use that. But I'm going to have you practice on yourself, so you will learn how to self-apply a tourniquet today. We'll do that down the road this morning.
This is great.
Some other tourniquets, combat gauze, and then this is a piece of combat gauze that we cut in half so that you can actually practice packing a wound. We're going to do this morning.
Is this something that is just for adults at Penn State Health, or can kids participate in something like this as well?
So to learn the training, kids can absolutely participate in it. Some of the presentation content is a little uncomfortable, gory. We show pictures of life-threatening bleeding as part of this presentation and part of this education, because we want people to understand the difference between someone who has a small cut that is not life-threatening and someone who has a bleeding injury that needs immediate intervention.
I think one of the really it really hits home when you talk about kids. You have kids much older than my kids, but nonetheless, in society today, without getting political at all, we are accustomed to seeing things, or at least kids are accustomed to seeing things that maybe would be unheard of before. We want to kind of pull the wool over our eyes sometimes, but it's also important to kind of make sure that they're aware of what's going on and what to do when they see something like that.
Right. So 2 things about that. So I would love to put my head in the sand and not watch the evening news if I could. But we had 5 mass shootings in this country since Saturday. 2 in Los Angeles or California, 1 in Yakima, Washington, 1 in Iowa, and 1 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So, as much as we try to Which, as much as I'd like to protect my kids from seeing that, they're seeing it on social media, they're seeing it other places as well. The other piece of that is it's not just for an active shooter situation. We see people coming in from car accidents, motor vehicle collisions, who have had very bad injuries, and they have had a tourniquet applied before they get to our trauma center, and they survive because of it.
Wow.
People out, I call them the weekend warriors, out in their backyard with their chainsaws, using heavy machinery or using equipment that can potentially cause some kind of big gaping wound that needs immediate intervention. Our hunters, I tease when I do this class, I tease hunters, right? If you're gonna spend the money on your Carhartt equipment and your firearm and your ammunition, buy the tourniquet, because you're 130 acres in the woods and you don't have that much time to get out of the woods and save yourself.
All right, so let's figure out how to stop the bleed.
Sure.
I am the I'm
Guinea
not the
pig.
I'm not this
No,
guinea pig,
no.
but I am going to learn something
Okay.
today. So
All right.
where do we start?
So the premise of Stop the Bleed is ABC. So we're going to talk about what A and B and C mean here in a few minutes.
So the ABCs of stopping the bleed.
Correct. Before we even get to A, we have to ensure your safety. So if the scene is not safe, you don't proceed. What I mean by that is if you're in a situation where there is an active shooter, you don't rush in, you save yourself, because we don't want a second victim. If you come up on a car accident on your way to work in the morning, and it's on a highway where cars are still going 65 or 70 miles an hour, stay in your car. Don't try to be that hero if it's not safe for you to proceed. So scene safety trumps everything else. So once we've assumed that and assured that the scene is safe, then we go to A, and A stands for alert. You want to call 911.
First thing that you do. You can do that from your car. You can
intervene.
do that. Got it.
Yep. And 9 times out of 10, if there's a life-threatening situation, you're going to start to get a crowd of people around you, usually with their phones, but that's another story. And they're going to come around and they're going to want to see what's going on or offer to help or just be the bystanders. One of the things that we teach is if you shout into the air, somebody call 911, that usually means everybody's calling or nobody's calling. So we say very pointedly, Matt, call 911. I have somebody bleeding to death. Now you have a job. You go do that job, and then I go to the victim. Okay? So A is alert, call 911, get the first responders, get law enforcement, get your EMS teams on the way.
And at that point, the clock starts to tick.
Correct. Well, this clock is ticking the minute
clock's
somebody's
already
hurt.
ticking. Got it.
Right?
Okay.
The minute somebody's bleeding.
And what's that clock for someone to kind of keep in the back of their mind?
Couple minutes.
Okay.
Couple minutes till they're in shock or dying in front of you. So A is alert, call 911. B is bleeding. You want to identify where the bleeding is coming from. We see many times in the trauma center, someone has a small cut in their pants and a gigantic cut in their actual leg. So you want to expose the wound. You're going to open up their clothing and see where the biggest part of the life-threatening bleeding is coming from.
Okay.
A lot of times people say, well, what does life-threatening bleeding look like? So it looks like blood that just won't stop coming, no matter what you do. Pooling on the ground, soaking through clothing, soaking through bandages that are already applied, spurting. Because if you think about it, your heart's pumping, and every time your heart pumps, blood's being pushed out into the rest of your body. So the heart pumps, blood. Heart pumps, blood. So spurting. Traumatic amputations, a partial or complete amputation. That's life-threatening bleeding, right? Sounds obvious, but sometimes it may not register.
Okay.
So A is alert, B is find the bleeding, C is compress the wound. And we do that in 3 ways. We apply pressure, or we pack the wound, or we apply a tourniquet. Okay, so holding pressure, we'll do the easiest first, right?
All right.
So holding pressure is just like it sounds. So you're going to find the place where the person's bleeding from. So here we have a hole, right, in somebody's pretend leg. You're going to take whatever clean cloth or gauze you have, as long as it's been washed in the last 100 years, right? You're gonna take it and you're gonna put it over the bleeding injury and you're gonna hold pressure, just like that. Okay.
Okay.
Victim on the ground. Leverage the ground.
I'm gonna try to take part in this. All right.
Time to go. Time to go to work. Right.
So, just start putting the pressure. 2 hands like this.
2 hands, and you don't let up. You keep the
So this is the opposite of CPR where you're pumping.
right. You're holding,
Got
and
it.
you're not moving until you're relieved by either EMS, law enforcement, firefighters, or somebody who knows how to stop life-threatening bleeding.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why we say get your victim on the ground.
Okay.
Use the palm of your hands, lean in, use your shoulders, use your arms, because that's going to feel
As much weight as you can put.
Yes, it's going to feel like an eternity until you're relieved of that duty, right? The reason we say don't get nosy, want to look, is he still bleeding, that kind of thing, is because you're going to pop that clot. The minute you let off pressure, any clot that's already formed is going to pop right off, and you're going to start right over.
Okay. Are you talking to the person
Yep.
if you can at this
If you
point?
can, yeah, I would talk to them and say, I know this hurts. We're calling 911. We've got the ambulance coming. Stay with me. We'll get you pain medicine when we can. Try to stay calm. I'm trying to help you.
Got it. All right.
Okay.
So I've been probably on this for about a minute now. Now what?
So you wait until
just
you're
waiting.
relieved.
All right.
Yep. So that's the first way that you
Okay,
do it,
got
holding
it.
pressure. So we say any clean cloth or gauze, anything that you can find. So, and we talk about this when we do the classes. It's not rocket science, right? Find the hole, put your hand over the hole and stop the bleeding. What can you use for a clean cloth or gauze? Your victim's socks, your victim's shirt. If you have a rag, anything that's beside you,
Anything.
use it. So that's what we talk about. We say clean cloth or gauze.
Golf towel in the
Sure,
trunk of the car?
absolutely.
If you have that there?
Absolutely.
Anything, really?
Anything you got,
Okay.
you can use it.
So
right?
what happens in the event that I have the pressure on and it is just overwhelming?
Sure.
I mean, it is just
Sure.
nonstop. There's nothing that I can
Sure.
do.
So you can pack the wound.
Okay.
So packing the wound sounds exactly like it sounds. Packing the wound. So take this hole here, and you're going to pack it like an accordion. You're going to shove whatever cloth or gauze you have. Now I'm using combat gauze, which is specifically designed. It has materials inside it that promote clotting in the blood. Okay, so that's what we're using today. But you take the gauze that you have and you put it in the hole.
And you're telling them, I know this hurts, I know this hurts, but
I know this hurts. I'm sorry. I know this hurts, but I'm trying to keep you alive
I'm
here.
saving your life.
I'm saving your life. And then you hold pressure.
Okay.
Okay? Once you
Got
get
it.
all that gauze in there, then you hold pressure.
Okay.
So you want to try that?
Sure. I
Okay.
will
Use that one because
use
this
that
is
one.
a little
Oh,
bit,
that's,
this is a
that's
little
done
messy
at this
now.
point. All right. So you have
Like
it
an
here.
accordion. Think
like
yep.
I've already messed it up. So
That's
if
all
that
right.
happens,
You're
that's
okay.
okay.
It's okay.
Because the only thing that's important is that you're stuffing
Yes.
the wound.
Yep.
And you're using the whole thing, even if
Correct.
it seems like you're already,
You'd be
full
amazed
there.
how much you can get in there, right? So here, let me hold it and leverage it for you.
Okay.
So keep going. So pack that
There you
in
go.
there. There you go. And you can feel inside there, there's tracking, right?
Mm-hmm.
The wound tracks. Most wounds are not clean slices, right? They are, look how much you got in there.
There you go. Got the whole thing.
That's like 9 feet of combat gauze.
Is that how much
Yeah.
is it? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so you got all that in there.
All right.
Okay, then once you get it in there, you're going to hold pressure.
Continue to hold pressure.
Continue to hold pressure.
Got it.
Okay.
So to basically just stop anything from spurting out or
Correct.
anything like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So where does the tourniquet then come into play?
The tourniquet comes into play in your extremities, your arms and legs. So if nothing I say registers this morning, I want you to remember that anytime there's life-threatening bleeding in your arms or legs, think tourniquet.
Okay.
Okay, because that's where we see when we talk about these mass casualty incidents, these mass shootings, when people are hunkered down, sheltering in place, people who have potentially survivable injuries have wounds to their arms and legs, but because of time, because they're hunkered down for 45 minutes to an hour, they're bleeding to death on injuries with wounds that were potentially survivable. So arms, legs, tourniquet.
Okay.
Okay? So what you're going to do is a tourniquet is simply
I'm going to stand this up
sure.
just because it
It's a
keeps
big
rolling.
big Velcro strap. It's got a couple pieces to it. It's got a rod.
Okay.
That's the most important piece of this whole thing, because
right.
once you get the tourniquet on, you start twisting it to clamp down onto your blood vessels, your nerves and your tissues and everything, and then you'll lock it in place, and I'll show you how to do that.
Okay.
Okay? So
Am I the arm?
you can be
right.
you can be the arm, or I can be the arm, however you want to do it. How about I'll
You show me first, and then we'll kind of
Okay.
roll reverse.
Okay, so let's turn you this way so
Okay.
we can see it. So if you have a bleeding injury to this part of your arm, Okay, you always want to put the tourniquet at least 2 to 3 inches above the wound.
Okay.
Okay, not over a joint.
Got it.
Because the vessels run really deeply.
Okay.
A lot of our military are taught something called high and tight. And that means the tourniquet up as high as you can get it and as tight as you can get it.
Okay.
That's not wrong, but stop the bleed teaches us 2 to 3 inches above the wound.
2 to 3 inches. Got it.
So you got a wound. I'm going to start putting the tourniquet on. And I'm going to go this way because it's a little easier for me to show you. So tourniquet on, the very first component of it is you pull this strap as tight as you can pull it.
Okay.
Okay, now this is not as tight as I can pull it. I don't want to torture you this morning, right? But you pull it as tight as you can pull it.
Okay.
The number one reason tourniquets fail is because people don't do this part correctly.
They do it loosely.
They do it too loosely because they're afraid they're going to hurt the person. You can't worry about that. Person's
already
bleeding
hurting.
to death. They're already hurting. So you're going to put this on as tightly as you can.
Okay.
Okay. You're going to bring the strap around to this, what we call the C-clamp. It's that hard plastic piece where the rod's going to fit in. And then you turn the rod. You turn it till you can't turn it anymore. I'm just going to go once.
You can really feel.
You feel it clamp down already,
you feel
right?
the clamp, and this is not on tight.
This is not on tight. So turn that rod. You bring the rest of the strap through, and you hold it in place with the white strap that says time, because we want to put the time on here. If you think about it, if you have a pen or something, you want to write the time.
Okay.
We know that tourniquets work upwards of 6 to 12 hours after they've been applied, and there's no tissue damage, like permanent damage. It's not really as big an issue in south central Pennsylvania as it is in the mountains of Iraq and Afghanistan, the mountains and deserts of Iraq and Afghanistan. So time is important, but if you don't have some way to write it, that's okay.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. So let's.
How about you use this one because it'll show up better, and I'll use this because it'll show up better on here. So again, you're going to take it, you're going to put it on your arm, you're going to pull it towards you as tightly as you can. So pull it as tight as you can. I always say think of those balloon animals that you see at like firemen's festivals or something. You know how they take the balloon and they twist it? And there's that centerpiece and then it's kind of real fleshy or real balloony on the other side. That's what you want your arm to look like. So you want to pull it as tight as you can. It's going to hurt and be uncomfortable. That means you're doing it correctly. So you're going to pull it as tight as you can get it. Okay? Bring it around to the C-clamp.
Okay.
And then you start twisting that rod. And so you can twist that rod till you can't twist it anymore. You'll feel how much that hurts, how uncomfortable that is.
Oh, yeah.
And it feeds itself into one side or the other of the C-clamp.
Okay.
Good. And then you pull the strap up over.
Oh, hold on.
It's okay. You got it.
You pull the strap over?
Over top. Yep.
Okay.
And then you secure it in place with that white strap, with the one that says time.
Okay.
Good.
And there we go.
Now, if you've done it correctly, I should not be able to feel a pulse, right? Because we've cut off the circulation. You've cut off the circulation to your arm.
Can you feel a pulse?
I can feel a pulse.
I figured you could. Yep.
Sorry, I can feel a pulse.
That's all right.
But you can imagine how much they hurt, right? How much it hurts.
Sure.
And again, it's a skill, and that's why we want you to take the class. It's just like, without, again, being political, a few weeks ago, NFL athlete went down on the ground and people did CPR and saved his life.
Yeah.
Like it's miraculous. But every news media outlet for the next 3 days talked about CPR, and they did all these segments on CPR, and that's great. But unless you do it, you practice the skill, you're not going to be as effective as you want to be to save that life. And stop the bleed and tourniquet use is the same thing. You have to take the class. You have to take a class or practice with the equipment so you know what you're doing in a moment of crisis.
So how can people sign up for Stop the
Sure.
Bleed?
So the national website is bleedingcontrol.org. So you can go on there and there's a section where you say find a class or get trained. You can find that class. We offer both Penn State Health Hershey and Penn State Health Holy Spirit hold classes. We go out into the community and we provide this education for free of charge. If you call 717-531-LION, L-I-O-N, leave a message, we'll direct your call either to Hershey or Holy Spirit, depending on who's closer for you and what your preference is. We provide the education to school districts. We provide it to communities. We provide it to religious organizations. I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
We've trained 15,000
Sure.
people.
Because no one's immune to possibly coming across
You never know.
an emergency like
Right.
this.
This is a situation truly where complacency and not being trained and educated will kill somebody. Somebody's going to die if you don't know what to do because you only have 3 or 4 minutes.
And this can be for adults. It could be
For kids,
even for
adults,
kids.
yes.
And how long does the class take?
The class is about 90 minutes from start to finish. So we do about a 60-minute presentation. It's very interactive. It's not, us standing up there talking incessantly.
But it's also 90 minutes to help potentially save someone's life.
Correct. So it's 60 minutes of education and then 30 minutes at a skills station where you have a trainer leg, you've got trainer tourniquets, the combat gauze where you're doing hands-on and we're teaching you correct ways to do the hands-on part.
This has been a tremendous segment, learning experience. We've gone over so much. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
Just that it works. We hear stories all the time of times where people intervene. We train them. They, maybe thought, why am I learning this? This is so dumb. I'm never going to use it. And they go, I told you this before we even started, went to a woman we trained at one of the schools, went to the playground on the weekend with her family. A little girl there, not her family member, fell off a climbing piece of equipment, landed on her elbow, broke this bone, and it went right into her brachial artery. And she started to bleed to death. She intervened, had somebody else call 911, and that little girl's alive.
And that's a great example because that's literally something that parents, we talk about
Like
parenting
that,
stuff all
right?
the time.
Yes.
How many parents right here have seen their child fall off the monkey bars before?
All the time, right? All the time.
And
right?
and you never, it's a matter of inches and centimeters where it can be fine, they just landed on their funny bone.
Right.
Versus an actual life-changing emergency.
Correct. I always say, if in trauma, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Sure.
Like
you have
life,
to always prepare for the worst.
The dumb stuff you think never is going to happen to you, we see it in our trauma bays every day. Like it just happens. Bad luck, bad circumstances, someone's in the wrong place at the wrong time. You got to have this training.
And this training, again, it's called Stop the Bleed. It's available through Penn State Health locally. It's a national, plug the website?
Sure, bleedingcontrol.org.
Amy Bollinger, trauma nurse coordinator at Penn State Health. Thank you so much for
Thanks.
being with us in WHBG TV20 studios. And again, we want you to help stop the bleed as well. So please go sign up for these courses.